Hey folks, welcome. My name is Emily and this is Gently Chaotic Knits, which is generally a video podcast series where I update y'all on the things that I have been making. That is mostly going to be knitting, but occasionally some spinning or other crafts that I get up to. And today I am doing just a normal project update video, so that means, like I said, just sharing what I've been working on, things that I've finished, perhaps, and then just catching up on what I've been up to since my last one. But I do have some bonus content at the end here of today's episode because it is the first project update video of 2026, which means it's time to do a little recapping of 2025 and also just kind of set intentions for 2026. So I will go through at the end. I think I'm going to do like the normal project update video stuff first, but at the end I'm going to go through just like high level stats. I do not have like a ton to share there, but just like how much I knit and that kind of stuff for 2025. And then I set some goals for 2025. I don't know if y'all remember them. I only kind of remembered them, so I had to refresh myself a little bit. But I'll go through what my goals were for 2025 and how I did, if I met them or not. Spoiler, if I don't remember what they were, probably not. And then I'm gonna set some new goals because I guess I'm a glutton for punishment. But I'm gonna set some new goals for 2026 and we're gonna see how that goes. Maybe more just like general intentions, and I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, if you are not interested in the goals and stats and all that 2025 recap stuff, no worries. I'm gonna do it at the end so you can watch normal project update stuff and then just kind of peace out whenever. If you're only interested in that stuff, I'll see if I can I normally just like let the YouTube do the automatic chapters. I know sometimes it does like a weird job of that, but maybe I can try to put like a chapter or something in, or like I can put a timestamp or put that on the screen or do something to let y'all know like when that part is gonna start, and you're totally free to jump up to that part and just tune in there if that's what you're here for. If you're interested in everything I knit in 2025, I did do that in a separate video that is already published, so you can go check that out now. And I'll try to do the bubble thing where it appears on the screen here. Maybe I'm pointing at it now. We'll see if I can figure that out. And I'll link it in the description as well. So if you're interested in just seeing a recap of everything that I knit last year, I've got that up for you to take a look at. So yeah, that's kind of the game plan, and let's go ahead and get started because I feel like I have, with the goals and everything, I've got a lot to talk about, and I may have to split this up into 2 sessions of recording, but of course for you all, it will be all one. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it, and we'll start off, as always, with finished objects and also what I'm wearing, and it is a combined what I'm wearing finished object today that I can share with you. So my first finished object is, well actually that's not true. I'll share about this one first though. I have another finished object that I technically finished first, like earlier, but we'll talk about this one first. I finished my Whitmoor cardigan, which is a pattern by Amy Lowden. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but hopefully I am. And I finished this just like a few days into 2026. I was really hoping that I would finish this in 2025 and I did not quite make it, but that's okay. I finished it just a couple days into 2026 and I'm starting the year off really strong, I feel like. This is size 1 that I knit. I believe I used the recommended needle size. I used a US 6 needle for most of the body, and then like a different needle for the ribbing. The yarn is 2 strands of yarn held together. So I have 1 strand of Madeline Tosh Merino Light and 1 strand of Shibui Silk Cloud, both in the colorway Copperleaf. So this is a collab that Madeline Tosh and Shibui did forever ago. And I bought this yarn. This was like, I would consider pretty deep stash yarn for me, that I bought, I believe, in like 2019 maybe. I'm pretty sure I bought this at a yarn shop in Washington when I went on the Puget sound yarn crawl, and I went to like most of the yarn shops in the crawl one year, and I'm pretty sure I got this yarn, I think it was 2019. So this has been in my stash for a while. In my brain, I had a lot of different projects cycled through that I had planned for this yarn, and I finally settled on this one. I was heavily inspired by my friend Maya, who knit this exact same pattern, the Whitmoor cardigan, I think a couple of years ago. And at the time, I mostly find that I knit pullovers, but I loved hers so much. It turned out so beautiful, and of course, I love to match. So I decided this would be a really good use for this yarn. I also had this hope in my heart that this would be a really good holiday sweater because of the color and just like the beautiful lace yoke. I thought, wow, this would be so perfect to wear like for the holidays. Of course, that was my intent to finish this before like Christmas and even New Year's so that I'd be able to wear it for those occasions, but I did not quite make it. But it'll be ready for me for next year for those occasions if I want to wear it then, or I don't know, for like Valentine's Day, or I don't know. I'm sure there are going to be other times that I can wear it. I think my gauge did end up being a little bit off. I knit size 1 because I was pretty nervous about yardage, but I actually used a lot less yarn than I thought. I can't believe how little yarn this sweater used. So I had 3 skeins of each, the like Tosh Merino Light and the Shibui Silk Cloud. I was most nervous about this Shibui Silk Cloud because it has less yardage. I think it's like 300 something yards per skein of that. And then the Tosh Merino Light is, I think, a normal, it's like a fingering weight, single ply fingering weight yarn. I think I had around like 400 or maybe just over 400 yards per skein. And I did not even break into the 3rd skein of the Tosh Merino Light. I did break into the 3rd skein of the mohair, but I did not. So I guess of each yarn I used like 800 yards maybe, and I knit the first size. And I did end up modifying the sleeves, so the yoke and the body are exactly to pattern. And I think actually maybe close to the right gauge because of I did quite a bit of stretching when I blocked it because I was worried about it being too tight. And you'll notice, like, I know this is kind of the, in style right now is like leaving the bottom button unbuttoned, but I really feel like I need to leave the bottom button unbuttoned because when I button it, I mean, I can physically button it, but I feel like it looks kind of tight and bunchy because it's just like a little bit, I mean, it's fine. It's just like a little tight down there. So I like to leave it unbuttoned. But anyway, I modified the sleeves to make them quite a bit roomier. So I actually knit the first sleeve to pattern with the pattern has 2 sleeve options, a tapered sleeve and I don't remember what it's called, like a bell sleeve or something like that. I wanted the tapered sleeve, and so I just knit the first sleeve to pattern, and it was way too tight. So I think the tapered sleeve has you do decreases like throughout the sleeve, and I reknit and basically didn't decrease at all until I got past my elbow. And then I did decreases just like at the frequency that felt right to me until the end. And I think this is exactly the right amount of ease. It's not nearly as tight, but it's still very like slim and fitted, and I think matches the fit of the body. I am so pleased with how this turned out. I know this is not going to be like an everyday wear for me because it's a little bit, I don't know, like nicer or fancier, but I really love it. I really, really love it. I've already worn it. I finished it, or I guess it like dried and finished blocking, and I put the buttons on a few days ago, and I wore it. I mean, I guess this is like my 2nd time, but I finished it like 3 days ago. And I really liked it, like even just wearing with jeans and for work, and like I went and grabbed coffee with some friends, and I love it. I think it's really, really cute. The color is gorgeous. I do think it's perfect for a holiday sweater. The lace was really, really fun to knit. I enjoyed the lace pattern, and it felt like it was really quick as well. The buttons are actually I don't know if you would call them antique buttons, but they're from forever ago, from my grandma. She had like a whole bunch of buttons and asked if I wanted any. And I just took I didn't have any plans for them at the time, but I just took a whole bunch of just kind of like plain basic buttons, and I just had these in my drawer from that, and I thought they worked out perfectly, just these little kind of cream buttons. And this is record time for me sewing the buttons on. It finished drying and I immediately sewed the buttons on, which I'm very proud of. But I knew this was one, sometimes when you have a cardigan, it's like, oh, I'm gonna wear it open or whatever. I knew I was gonna wear this one button, so I had to put the buttons on right away so that I could wear it. I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I feel like I've already talked probably too much about this one, but I'm just really, really pleased with how it turned out. I think it is very cute, and I do think it meets a need in my wardrobe that was not being met by other hand knit sweaters. So like I think a lot of my other sweaters are more for casual wear, which is good because mostly I am wearing sweaters casually. Like I don't need anything this fancy most of the time in my life. But I think it's really nice to be able to wear something hand knit to like nicer events or things like that. And so I feel really glad to have this little bit nicer, fancier sweater for those types of things. So anyway, that is my Whitmoor cardigan, and I'm very pleased with it. I do have one other finished object that I finished since my last project update video, but I don't have it physically with me because it was a gift. So I'll put a picture up on the screen so that y'all can see it while I'm talking about it, but I knit a sweater for my brother-in-law. So those of y'all that have been around for a while probably remember that I knit a dad sweater, which is a pattern by me, for every member of my immediate family. I guess it was a couple years ago, or like spread out over a couple of years, but I knit a dad sweater for every member of my immediate family. So that would be both my parents, both my siblings, and my husband. And my sister got married this summer, and so it was time for her husband, my brother-in-law, to have a matching family sweater as well. So we talked a little bit about the yarn and the color and what he wanted to do with it, and picked out Natura, Gilliatt, in the colorway Aster. And I knit him the broad shoulder. I knit size 1, but again, I have used this yarn before for the dad sweater, and it's a thicker yarn than the pattern calls for. So I knit size 1 broad shoulder, but I ended up getting the measurements closer to size 2 broad shoulder. So just like did a little math to make that adjustment. I think it turned out great. I did also modify the sleeves to be less volume and a little more tapered, just like personal preference of the recipient. And I think it turned out great. I think it turned out really good. He was very, very happy with it. And I think, yeah, it fit the way that we hoped and expected. I did end up adding a little bit of extra length on the sleeves just to make sure that it was exactly what he was wanting. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with how it turned out, and now I am back to caught up on family sweaters. So I don't have any more of those kind of imminent for me. So very happy with how that turned out. Yeah. Okay, that is all of my finished objects that I have for this time, but I do have a good number of works in progress. So maybe let's start with the smaller projects. I have a couple updates on like socks and things like that. I do have to grab something though that I didn't get before I started recording. Okay, so my first pair of socks that I'll share about is, I guess I was calling these my December socks. Of course, I did not finish them, but this is just a basic 3x1 ribbed sock that I am knitting. The yarn is Woolberry Fiber Co. Acadia, and it was a sock set that I got in a yarn swap like from one of my friends. And I don't remember exactly where I was when I last showed these socks, but I did finish the first sock. So I finished the first sock, and then I have not even started the second sock because I abandoned this pair of socks for another pair of socks that I'll share in a second. So these are just hanging out waiting for the second sock, but I am happy with how they've turned out so far. I think this yarn is very pretty, and it came with a contrast mini, which looks kind of gray from far away, and it is, but it also has just a little bit of nuance in the color, like a little bit of, I don't know, like, I feel like when I was knitting it, I saw some like pinkiness and other, I don't know, maybe you can't really see that on the camera, but anyway, it's turning out very cute, and just doing a basic 3x1 ribbed sock for myself. And that's it. I did not finish this last year. I'll get into the numbers and the counts and my goal and everything last year, or yeah, for 2025, but I would have had to finish this pair of socks by the end of the year if I was gonna make my goal, and I did not make it, mostly because I was rushing to try to finish this sweater, and then I didn't finish that one either, so not amazing work by me, but that's okay. But yeah, I will probably go back to this after I finish my other pair of socks that I'm working on now. All right, my next pair of socks that I spent some time working on was, and I cast on since I last talked with y'all, was my Christmas socks. So this is Handspun 3-ply. From the fiber is Shaniko silk from Yarn Jam in the colorway Very, Very Merry. And this is a little spin to knit along that I do with my friends each year. We started doing, my friend Maya and I started doing a Christmas Eve cast on several years ago. At first we just did self-striping socks, and we did just like cast on a pair of socks on Christmas Eve together and then finish them, you know, whenever. And then last year we decided we wanted to do hand-spun Christmas socks, so we got some fiber, and a couple of our friends also wanted to join in, and so they joined us in doing a Christmas Eve cast on with hand-spun Christmas yarn, and we decided to do it again this year. So this year, like I said, we did the Yarn Jam Shaniko silk, and the colorway is so cute, and here's how they're turning out. So I'm knitting the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry, which is a favorite sock pattern for me generally, but also especially for handspun. I just feel like it's so forgiving and they always fit great. So this is my default sock pattern for handspun yarn. I just finished the heel last night. So I've just put the heel in and I'm ready to just do the leg. This is the first sock, so I did cast this on Christmas Eve, but I've been very focused on garments and other knits since then, and like finishing this sweater, so I have not made a ton of progress. But yeah, I have done roughly half, maybe over half of the first sock. I'm knitting, I think, women's size medium, and I always knit my socks on US size 0 needles, but in case that is interesting to anybody. So that's my other pair of socks that I've been working on. And then I do have one other small project that has been on the needles for a while, but I just recently picked back up and made some progress on. And that is my little Horacio the Donkey that I am knitting for a friend who just had a baby. So of course I would have loved to have this finished before the baby came, but I did not finish it in time. But that's okay. I am returning to him now. I have my little donkey progress. I don't know if it's actually showing him. There he is. Look at him. I should have stuffed his head before I recorded so that you could see him better. But anyway, this is Horacio the Donkey. He is from the Moosh and Friends book by Cynthia Valet. This is my third little guy that I've made from this book now. So I have made Moosh the bear, and then I've also made, this one is Forest, the bison, for a couple friends who had babies. And then I had another friend who just had a baby last fall, and I'm making her, or her baby, Horacio the Donkey. And here I can show you, he's not, for some reason, he's not on the front page, but I can show you a picture of him from the book and like what he will look like when he's all done. So here he is. So cute, oh my gosh. So I am using, this is Knitting for Olive Merino in the colorway Dusty Moose, which I personally think is the perfect donkey color. And then I just had some leftover cream that I used for his nose, and then I have embroidered on, like with little embroidery floss, his little nostrils and his smile. I have the like safety eyes in here. I did his ears. So all of the little fiddly facial features are done now, and I just finished doing his like shoulders, and it's time to do his arms now. So I'm kind of cruising now. I think the head, all of the little head pieces are the most time consuming and kind of fiddliest. So I'm through that part and should be cruising for now. And then I am gonna also make his little outfit. He has some overalls that he's wearing. I can't quite decide on what color to make the overalls. I'm trying to think about my friend and what kind of colors she likes, and maybe I'll do like a green. I think that might be cute for his overalls, or like an orangey red could be cute too. And then he also has a little hat that I might make as well, which I think is really cute that his ears stick out of. So anyway, I am hoping to finish this fairly soon because another friend of mine just had another baby and I would love to make her a little guy as well. So I have to catch up. I gotta finish this one so that I can start the next one. But it's really engaging to work on. And honestly, there was a night earlier this week where I was sitting and I was gonna just pick up my socks, and I was like, you know, I kind of want something that I have to think about a little bit more. Like I want to use my knitting brain a little bit. So this was perfect for that because you do have to pay attention. You don't just go in autopilot when you're working on these. So anyway, very fun to work on. I highly, highly, highly recommend Cynthia Valet little patterns for the plushies. Even if you don't get the book, she has some standalone patterns as well. I think like a bear and a bunny maybe outside of the book that you can purchase. But if you're looking for any little stuffy patterns, highly recommend Cynthia Valet's patterns. They are so easy to follow and really enjoyable to knit as well. All right, that's all my little bits, the socks and other relatively similarly sized projects. Wow, that got really bright. Okay. I do have a couple of garments that I am working on, that I've made some progress on, that I wanted to share with you. One is actually a new cast on, but let's wait on that one. I picked back up, after I finished my Whitmoor cardigan, I picked back up my Moonset Polo, which I don't know if y'all remember, but I cast this on in the fall along with my friend Ariel, who has already finished hers, and it's beautiful. And you should check out her. She also has a video podcast series on YouTube here. She's Airy Knits if you want to see her beautiful finished Moonset Polo, which is a pattern by Ozetta. But mine is still in progress, and let me grab it because it's actually on the blocking mats here. But I just did a mid-project block. And it's still like a tiny bit wet, so I probably shouldn't be picking it up like this, but I'm going to anyway. So here's my Moonset Polo, and I am delighted with how it is turning out, but I am doing a mid-project block because I was a little bit nervous. The yarn I'm using is Kerry Woolen Mills Aran. I think the colorway is Silver Tweed, and I bought this in Ireland a couple of years ago, and I really think this is like my perfect yarn. It is a beautiful like medium gray with colorful tweed flecks, but the flecks are all red, blue, and yellow, which is just from my heart. It's just so perfectly me that I can't even handle it. I love it so much. I love this yarn, and I wanted to find the perfect project for it. And the Moonset Polo by Ozetta, I'm pretty sure calls for a worsted weight yarn, or like a DK plus a lace or whatever. And I knew that this yarn was going to be a little bit thick, but I just felt like I could make it work, and it would be so perfect for this project and just so cute. And I don't know, I had this vision. So I decided to try and go for it anyway, even though it's maybe a little bit thick. And it's definitely a dense fabric. So normally what I maybe would do is knit it at a larger needle so that I get the fabric that I want that's maybe a little bit less dense, and then knit a smaller size of the pattern. But I'm already knitting the smallest size, and it's a ton of ease. Like, this pattern has a lot of ease built in. I think it's intended to have somewhere around 10 inches of positive ease. And so the smallest size would give me, I think, like 8 to 10 inches of positive ease. And I really didn't want to knit the second size. Well, I guess I wouldn't have knit the second size. That wouldn't have made any sense. But I could have maybe tried to do some math and knit something smaller than the smallest size, but I wanted to just knit to pattern and not worry about like messing with it or whatever. So anyway, I am knitting it at a little bit of a tighter, like denser fabric than maybe I would have wanted. And I was nervous that it was going to be so dense that the sweater was going to feel like cardboard and just like not be enjoyable to wear. So what I decided to do is knit until I join in the round, which I have done, and then also knit the collar and then block it to see how it feels. And I guess I can toss this on. It's still a tiny bit wet, but I can toss this on top of my sweater that I'm currently wearing because this is much larger. So I tried it on actually this morning, and I think it's gonna be good. It's definitely a denser fabric, but I think it's gonna be just fine. It still has like some movement, and it definitely softened with blocking, so I think it's gonna be really, really good. And I'm very excited about it. It's definitely gonna be big, like oversized for sure, and the drop shoulder I think is gonna be so nice. But anyway, I'm very happy with my decision to block mid-project because I think that will just give me the peace of mind for the rest of the project. And if it hadn't worked out at this stage, then I care enough about doing something that I'm really gonna love with this yarn, and also this pattern. Like, I would probably make this pattern again with different yarn, and I just don't want to force it to be something that I don't love, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't know, I'll talk about this more at the end with my goals and everything. I just want to be really mindful and like purposeful in the things that I make this year and moving forward, and I want to make things that I really, really want to wear and that I love to wear. And I was really nervous that if I just kept going with this yarn and this pattern at this density, that it was going to be so dense and tight that I was not going to want to wear it. And I don't know, it was worth it to do a mid-project block. However, the mid-project block took longer than I expected. And by that I mean this yarn, probably because I knit it so densely, also has taken forever to dry. And so I finished this, like got it to this point and blocked it, like, you know, soaked it and laid it out several days ago. And partially I think this is because it's the winter, but I have it sitting right in front of the heater in my office and it still is taking forever to dry. And so I really wanted to work on a garment the other day and I didn't have a garment on my needles. So that's why I cast on a new garment. And let me take this off and then I will tell you about my new garment cast on. We have been talking about my family is planning to take a trip to Scotland this summer. And I have some yarn that I got when I was in Scotland a couple years ago that I thought would be fun to cast on, and then maybe if I finish my project in it, I could wear it when we go back. I don't know, that just seemed nice to me. And this I thought would be like a quick project, and I probably will, like once Moonset Polo is dry and like ready for me to work on again, I'll probably abandon it and go back to, or abandon this project and go back to Moonset Polo, but I'll show you what I started. So I am knitting a stripey turtle tank, which is a pattern by me. It's actually my first ever pattern that I ever released back in, I don't even remember, like I don't even remember what year I released, like 2021 maybe. Feels like forever ago. But I got this really great woolly yarn to make kind of a vest version of it. So originally the stripy turtle tank is like a tank top, essentially. Like, I don't know, the ones I've knit I mostly wear on their own, but I had the idea to modify the neckline a little bit to make it more kind of vest-like, and then wear it as a vest, like on top of things. And because I've been really into vests lately, and I thought it would be fun to do this slight modification. So here is my yarn that I'm using for it. So the main color is, this is from, let me look at my notes because I wrote this down. This is from the Knitting Goddess, and it is a BFL Masham blend, and it's a fingering weight yarn, 4-ply, from a yarn store in Edinburgh, and I don't remember what yarn store I bought it from, but it is all UK sheep and wool and processed and everything, and it feels really nice and like woolly. And then I got 4 colors of Jamieson and Smith. This is their 2-ply jumper weight, and I got 4 colors of it. The yellow one is bigger only because they didn't have it in a smaller size. I am not planning on doing like more yellow stripes or anything like that. But here they are, and I switched the order because I think this is the order I'm gonna do them in the garment. So the colors are, this one is 81, a nice like charcoal. Then I have, the yellow is 1285 mix. Beautiful like golden color. This one is 82 mix. And then this one is FC13 mix. I think I'm reading the correct color name on these, but anyway, of course, it's kind of like a primary color type vibe with the gray, and I think it'll be really cute with the with this like brownish gray creamy base. So I did make a modification from the beginning of the pattern. So the pattern is generally knit bottom up, and I decided I wanted a split hem, which the Stripey Turtle Tank pattern does not have a split hem written into it, but my Slanty Stripes pattern does, and so I'm just doing it like the same. I mean, I don't know, it's easy to modify to have a split hem. Basically, I just knit, this is 1/2 of my ribbing, which I've already knit, and then I cast on the other half, and I have not finished it yet. I just started this one last night. So as soon as I finish both of the ribbings, then I will join in the round and I will start going on my stripes. And then, like I said, I think I'm gonna lower the neck a little bit so that it's more of like a rounded kind of crew neck, and then do a longer ribbed, maybe I'll do a fold over to make it kind of vesty, I guess. And then I may also do ribbing around the armholes. The pattern calls for a I-cord edging on the armholes. I think I might do ribbing as well to make it kind of more vesty. But otherwise, like, you know, all the numbers and like the armhole shaping and everything, I will do to the pattern. And yeah, like I said, I probably will abandon this once my moonset polo is ready to go and dry again, but I would at least like to get it to the in the round stage before I abandon it. And I don't know exactly yet when I'll finish this or when I'll come back to it, but ideally I would finish it like before the summer if we're planning to go on that trip. I would like to finish it sometime before then. So that is my last real work in progress knit. I do have a work in progress spin to share with you all. So I don't remember what, I think I was maybe working on the spin for my Christmas socks last time. And here's a close-up of that if you want to see what the yarn looks like in the cake. And I think, I don't remember if I shared, I probably shared last time, but this yarn was a 3-ply, and I did a fractal, and I split the braid into a, I believe it was a 3-4-6 fractal. And I like the way that it's turning out, and like the color changes and stuff I think are really fun. So anyway, after I finished that project, we went back and we're like home for the holidays, and then came back in January, and I was feeling really excited and inspired to be spinning again. And I had a project ready to go because I am planning to make the, I think it's called the Nightlights shawl by Andrea Mowry. And I was once again inspired by my friend Maya. She already has spun up some yarn for this project, and we want to knit it together. And so I need to get going, and I need to finish my spin so that we can knit it together. But I think I may have shared my plans for this a while ago on a earlier project update video, so you may remember it from that. But I have some fiber that I got from Hello Lavender at Flock Fiber Festival back in 2024. And I'm just rolling this back up. Here, I can hold it out so that you can see it. But anyway, I got 2 colors of, 2 colorways of fiber from Hello Lavender. And this first one was Sunflower, and I must have thrown out the tag because I don't remember what base it is. I kind of think it's Shetland. So I think this was the colorway Sunflower on Shetland. And then I also got the colorway Flock 2024 on Rambouillet. So this is Flock and this is Sunflower. And I'm spinning them together. I'm doing the first bobbin is Sunflower, and this is my progress on it. And this is all I have left. I'm kind of hoping I can finish this today. That would be really nice if I could finish my first bobbin today. I was cruising. I did the first 2 ounces in like a day and a half, and then I've slowed down a little bit after that. But anyway, this is Sunflower, and I just split the braid in half. So 2 pieces lengthwise, and then spun them up one after the other. So this is half, this is 1/2 of it. And then the other braid I split into 4 pieces. So this is just 2 of the 4 pieces. The other 2 I left upstairs, but I brought 2 so that I could show you the color. And so as soon as I finish the Sunflower, I will spin up the 4 pieces of Flock, and then I will ply them together. And I should have, you know, 8 ounces, like roughly 2 skeins of yarn for this. And then the plan is, like I said, to knit that Nightlights shawl. I want to use this Nudiden that I have for the main color, and the contrast color would be the yellow. I think it would be really fun. So anyway, that's the game plan. I am not in a like super rush. I don't have a deadline or anything, but I'm pretty sure my friend Maya is like, she's, like I said, she's ready to go with her yarn. And so I don't want to delay her. So I want to finish mine so that we can cast one together sometime soon. So that is the game plan. And then I haven't completely decided what I'm going to spin after I finish that. Oh no, I dropped my water. I haven't completely decided what I want to spin after that. I'm probably going to go back. Some of y'all may remember I was spinning this like super dark brown ebony Rommeldale fiber. I got 2 I don't even know what the unit is, like 2 things of it. Each one is 4 ounces. And I spun one of them and I paused, and I haven't spun the second one. So maybe I'll go back and finish that, and then I'll be ready for something new. I have lots of fiber in my stash, so I'm ready to go, but I actually have some fiber acquisitions to share with you all as well. But before we get into acquisitions, that was my spinning work in progress. I have a couple of other crafty things that I wanted to share with y'all. So first up is a watercolor that I did with my Grammy when I was back in Oklahoma. We did a little bit of painting together, and so I had seen, I don't know where I saw this online, some watercolor paintings of quilt squares. And I thought, I feel like I could make that and then I could hang it on my wall and it would be beautiful artwork. So I asked my Grammy, she's a beautiful watercolor artist and we have lots of her paintings in our house. And I asked her if that's something she would be able to help me with and if my sister was also interested. And so we got together over the holidays. She made the cutest little, actually I have mine here, watercolor palettes for us. It has my name on it. And here's my palette. I don't know if you can see it. Some of them are coming off, but anyway, I've got my little watercolor palette that she put together for me. And then yeah, we got together and we did some watercoloring. So I have a picture I can show you. I first traced out all the straight lines for the quilt square pattern that I wanted to do, and then we started painting, and here's what I made. And I don't know how well this is showing up, if it's like blown out or if you can see it. Maybe I can turn it like a little bit away from the window. But I'm really, really pleased with how it turned out. I think it's so cute. I spent a long time, actually, do I have my, yes, I have my practice sheet. So we spent a long time like trying to figure out what colors to use. So you can see I was like making new colors and taking notes for which things I mixed together to get which colors. And then I decided on my palette over here. I was really back and forth on including the green because I'm normally not a huge green person, but I just couldn't come up with enough. I wanted 6 colors and I couldn't come up with 6 colors that I loved together. And I thought that the green went well with these. So anyway, that was my test sheet, but this is how it turned out and I love it. So I have a frame up on my wall picked out for it. And I just need to cut this down to the right size for the frame. And then I will put it in the frame and it'll be hanging on my wall. And I love it. And I really want to make more. I have been noodling on some other shape and color ideas and things that I want to do. So I'll probably make a couple of more. I also feel like this would make a really nice gift for someone. Like if you wanted to paint some artwork. And I don't know, I guess I'm artistic in some ways because I knit and I know that's art and like I really like to play with color and stuff like that, but as far as actual like drawing or painting, I'm not very talented. So the quilt square was very appealing to me because this didn't require any artistic ability as far as like drawing out the quilt square or whatever. I literally just took a ruler and that I feel capable of doing, like, you know, measuring and drawing straight lines. Those are skills that are in my wheelhouse. So I really liked that I got to do something like play with color and do something really kind of creative in that way, but I did not have to actually like draw or I don't know, like come up with the figures myself. I was able to just use the straight lines and the geometry, and then I painted within the lines, and that was nice. So there are some parts where I messed up a little bit, like you can see places where it's like bleeding outside of the lines a little bit, but I kind of like that a little bit. It gives it a more like natural feeling, and it was handmade. So, and it's watercolor, like it's supposed to be blendy, so I don't know. Anyway, that is my watercolor quilt art that I made as well. So that's also kind of a finished object. And then the other thing that I wanted to share about is not a finished object of mine, but it was a finished object of my husband's that he made for me as a gift. And we finally got it finished and hanging up on the wall. And I'm really excited about it. So y'all may have noticed, actually, if you watched my Everything I Knit in 2025 video, I had a little bit of a different angle, and I have a different angle today. I'm honestly just trying to play around with what is the best for light because it is winter and so it's not very bright outside, and so like trying to actually get good light, it's very difficult during this time of year. So I'm trying to figure out where relative to the window is the best place for me to be. But anyway, last episode or last video I was turned, and I guess maybe I can just turn the camera so you can see it, but I was turned this way, and you can see some artwork that I have on my wall, including this wooden yarn pegboard that my husband made for me. And this was heavily inspired by a yarn board that Marlene from Marlene Knits made with her partner, I believe. I saw this video that she made a while ago and I thought it was so cute. I loved this idea. And so I sent the video to my husband and was like, maybe for like a birthday gift or something, would you be able to help me do this? Like make this wooden yarn board? And he was totally game. And it involved, like, it was way more involved than I thought it was gonna be. He had to like find the right wood, which was an endeavor, and then he had to like sand it, and he had to, I don't know, condition it, and then I like stain it, and we had to get the little rods that he had to cut down to the right size and then sand and then put them, like drill the holes and the whatever. It was way more involved than I thought it was going to be. And he was so sweet for doing this, but I think it turned out really great, and I was very particular about what I wanted. Like I wanted it to be a very particular size, and I wanted it to be a very particular color and all of this stuff, and he was amazing about it and made me just the most beautiful board. So I can put a picture up in better light also of what the board looks like, and I've got some yarn on it now, and I love it. I'm very pleased with how it turned out, and I think it's beautiful artwork and also functional because it's storage for my yarn in my office. So I'm very pleased with that. So yeah, I think that's all I have as far as projects, finished or otherwise, and knitting or otherwise that I have. I do have a couple of acquisitions to share, and then I will jump into the goals if you're not tired of me by that point. So quickly, we'll do a couple of acquisitions. First, this is one I already shared about, but I wanted to show it to you all. I mean, I guess it's not in person because you're not here with me, but I can hold it up on the screen rather than putting a picture. So I shared in my last project update video that my friend Maya and I did a kind of mystery fiber swap this holiday, and I showed these two fibers that I had from the swap, which are so perfect. Honestly, this might be what I spin next because I'm so excited about it. So I have these two that I already showed you, and then I had a picture of the other one, but it has since arrived. So this one is, the third one is Nebula from Coast to Coast Yarn, and I think of the three, this one might actually be my favorite. I love it so much, but let me hold it up so you can see it. It is so gorgeous. Look at that. Wow. Stunning. And then again with the other two, so this one was the Tumalo fiber, I think this is Lounge Lizard, and then the third one is Wolf Fiend Lost and Found. So here they are together. I can't wait to spin them together. I think they're gonna make a perfect, beautiful yarn, and I'm so excited to spin them up. So this was one thing that came since I last recorded. Okay, next, I did a yarn swap with my knitting friends, and I sent a couple of, like I brought some yarn and fiber that I did not have use for anymore. A lot of it was like, I had a skein left over from a project that I made that, you know, I wasn't gonna use, and then I had like some fiber that I knew I wasn't gonna use that I brought for the swap, but I did come home with some goodies, and I didn't bring the bag close to me, so let me go grab my bag. Here is my bag of goodies. So the things that I came home with, first up, I have 2 skeins of Explore Knits Denali Sock colorway Butternut. And I'm very excited about these. I think these will be perfect for like some sort of tee or tank. And of course, we know that I love like a beautiful golden yellow. So this will be very fun. So I have that. I have just a couple of skeins of sock yarn that I grabbed. So this one is Woolberry Fiber Co. Lake of Shining Waters. This one is Woolberry Fiber Co. Meet Me by the Coast. And this one is Hue Loco Big Sky. So these were just a couple of sock yarns that I grabbed from the swap. And then I also got a DK weight yarn. This is Swanky DK from Magpie. And it's a merino cashmere blend, which feels so good. And this is the colorway Mesa. I'm not sure exactly what I'll make out of this, but I just loved the color so much and it feels amazing. I've knit with Swanky Sock before from Magpie Fibers, but never Swanky DK. But I think this would make a really great accessory of some kind, like a hat or a like neck scarf I think would be really nice. So anyway, I grabbed that. And then last up, my friend Megan had a whole bunch of like bulky non-superwash wool for slipper making. So y'all have probably seen the, what is it called? The sailor slippers pattern has been super popular. Everybody's making slippers. And my friend Megan had plenty of bulky non-superwash yarn so that everybody can make slippers. So I grabbed a couple of balls or like skeins of that from her. These ones are, let's see, Simply Wool Worsted. I think this is from Knit Picks, just like a cream. And then this one is We Are Knitters, the Petite Wool. So I'm imagining a cream and mustard striped slipper, which I think will be super cute. And then I completely forgot about this, but also my friend Sylvan had a whole bunch of needles that she was looking to part with. And so I grabbed some needles. This is just another sock needle, a US 0 sock needle, and then a US 1.5. I don't know why I grabbed these sizes in particular. She had a whole bunch, but I grabbed these. So anyway, that is my yarn that I acquired from Swap. I'm very pleased with my additions and also that I didn't take too much. I feel like I grabbed the right amount of yarn. I guess now I can put it in my cabinet now that I've talked about it. That's generally my process. I leave it out until I've talked about it on the podcast and then I put it away in the cabinet. So after I finish recording here, I'll probably put that away. But that was my yarn from Yarn Swap. And then I have one other acquisition. This is my first and only purchase so far of 2026. And I made this purchase literally on January 1st. And I could not resist it. So I saw La Mercerie's Year of Fiber January colorway and fell completely in love. If you're unfamiliar, at La Mercerie, which is a yarn shop here near Seattle in Bainbridge Island, Washington, they had previously been doing what they called the Year of Socks, which was a new sock set by a different dyer every month of the year. And last year they started, in addition, doing a Year of Fiber, where they have a braid of fiber by a different dyer every month of the year. And I think you can sign up as like a subscription. So you pay for the subscription and you get every single month. But also they have a few braids that they sell just extra that are not part of the subscription that they drop on the first day of every month. I got the newsletter email, I guess it was the day before this became available, and I saw it and I completely fell in love and I was like, this is for me, this is my colors, this has to be, I have to have it. So I hopped on right when they became available on January 1st and I bought 2 braids of this colorway, which is literally so perfect for me. We know that I'm a primary color girly and I love red, yellow, and blue, and this has like a really nice pink kind of base to it, which is beautiful. It's also inspired by, like, the inspiration photo is a beautiful work of like impressionist art, which I love. And they did a sample spin of this too, and it was just so beautiful and like very blendy and pink forward, and it was really, really cute. So anyway, the dyer is Skein in the Stitch, and then the base is also really interesting to me. I'm very excited about. It's a house blend, a Skein and the Stitch exclusive, and it's a 50% Rambouillet, 33% Kent Romney, 17% Cormo blend. I think is gonna be amazing. And it does feel really good, but it doesn't feel merino soft. It feels like woolly soft in like a squishy and plumpy way. I don't know if that makes sense. But I think it's gonna be amazing to spin. So I got these 2 braids. I'm not sure exactly what the game plan is for like what I wanna make with them, but I felt like 2 braids was a good amount, and we'll just kind of go from there. Maybe some sort of like, I don't know, hood type head covering scarf type thing I think could be nice in this. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I got these 2 braids and I'm very pleased with them. So that is my acquisitions. That's all I've acquired since last time. And I guess that means it is time to do my 2025 stats and goals and recap and talk about my next goals. So if you're just here for the project update stuff, you can probably head out now. And otherwise, if you want to hear about my goals and how I did last year and what I'm planning for this year, then I'm going to jump into that now. So first up, we'll just give some high-level stats, and I went a little bit more into detail on like how many of each project I made during my 2025 recap video. But overall, just high level, I knit 22 projects in 2025, which was a little bit down. I think in 2024, I had knit 26 projects, so just a little bit lower than 2024. And my total yardage for the year was 11,954, which is actually quite a bit down. That is my lowest yardage count since I believe 2019. So that was a pretty big difference from how much knitting I've been doing more recently, like in the last few years. I believe 2024 was closer to 15,000. So yeah, I was down about 3,000 yards from the previous year. And then before that, during like COVID, when we were at home all the time and not going anywhere, I was knitting over 20,000 yards a year. So this definitely was a down year for me. I do have to remember there was this sweater that I basically knit entirely in 2025, but didn't quite finish. So that yardage didn't count and will count for 2026. So that is like a good, I don't know, with the 2 strands, like maybe 1,500 yards. So that definitely brings it a little bit closer. But either way, I did definitely knit less in 2025 than I had been knitting previously. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is just I'm working full time again. I don't knit very much during the day, so that just like significantly cut down on my knitting time. And then there were times before this when I was like working part-time at a yarn shop and I was designing with a lot of my time. That definitely knitting was like a bigger part of my day. So working full time I think just made me have a little bit less time for knitting, which is very reasonable and totally fine. I'm not unhappy about that at all. The other thing that I think affected my knitting this year was I just did a lot of things. I feel like I did a lot more with my friends, like a lot more activities, going to baseball games and, you know, just spending more time playing games with friends or like going on little mini excursions or, you know, spending time with friends and family. And I do knit a lot when I do those things, but not as much as when I just spend the evening hanging out at home. So I think that was a big reason that I ended up knitting less this year. And then the third reason I think is not a super fun reason, and I talked about this a little bit in one of my previous podcast episodes or project update videos, is I think that I knit a little bit less this year because I think I was on my phone a little bit more. And that bums me out a little bit. I don't love that. I can't knit while I'm on my phone because I need my hands for both of those things. And I think that because of the political climate that's going on currently here in the US, and also just like, I think the internet and our phones are designed to really suck us in, and because things feel like big and scary, I think there's an escape aspect. And then there's also like it's so weird because it's two things at the same time. It's like part of it is wanting to escape from the mess that is what is happening right now. And then there's another part that's like, I have to stay informed, or I can't look away. And it just contributed to this feeling of like always being online, or like always being on my phone and always whatever. And I think a lot of people, like I've had a lot of people reach out to me since I talked about it on that other episode. I think this is something a lot of us have experienced, and it sucks. It's like such a bummer. And I don't really know what the right answer is, and I don't know how to find the right balance, but this is definitely a goal of mine for this year. Not because I'm like bummed that I didn't knit enough this year, but just because I want to change my habits, and I want to be a little bit healthier with that kind of thing. And that's not to say that I want to completely disengage from what's happening around me, because I don't want to do that. But I think there are like better and healthier ways. And I think toward the end of this year, I tried to do a better job of that. But I think there are better and healthier ways to engage with what's happening around me. And that doesn't involve sitting and scrolling on my phone. So that's a goal for me for this year, is to do a little bit better and have a little bit better balance. And honestly, I'm only a couple weeks in, a week and a half into 2026, but I already am feeling like I'm doing a little bit better. So let's hope that I can stick with that. But anyway, maybe I'll end up knitting more in 2026. Maybe I won't, I'm not sure. I'm not setting any kind of yardage goal for myself for 2026. I don't have like a number of skeins or, you know, yards or anything like that that I want to knit through in the year. But I do have a couple of other goals that I'll talk about. So first, let's recap my goals that I had in 2025. So I wanted to knit 12 pairs of socks, which was my year of socks goal. And if you're unfamiliar, I had pulled out 12 sock yarns at the beginning of the year last year, and I wanted to knit one pair of socks every month. I did not quite make it. I knit 10 pairs of socks last year. And I did end up straying from the 12 that I picked out initially, and picked back up like some socks that I had in progress and stuff like that. But still, even with that, I did not quite make it. So I made 10 pairs of socks. So I did not meet that goal. I also wanted to knit 12 garments. So I wanted to knit a garment every month of 2025. And I also did not make that goal. So I finished 9 garments in 2025. This one was really, really close. So, but even if I had finished this one, that would have been 10. So I basically did 10 of each in of socks and garments. And then I completely forgot I had this goal entirely, but I also apparently had the goal to knit 4 accessories, and I did not make that at all. I knit 1 accessory last year. I can't believe this. I didn't knit any hats last year. I knit 1 giant wrap scarf, which honestly was the amount of knitting of 4 accessories, kind of, if you think about it. But I knit the crosshatch wrap, which is a giant 2-color brioche rectangle shawl. And that was the only accessory I knit last year. So I did not make that one either. So I didn't meet any of my number of items goals, which is a little bit of a bummer, but also makes sense if I had like a down year knitting. And I'm not too bummed about it, but it is what it is. Next up, I had a goal to knit both a worsted and woolen spun, hand spun garment. I made it halfway. So I knit 2 worsted spun, hand spun, well, if we're counting garments, I knit 3 hand spun garments, but they were all worsted spun. So my Alver pullover, my traveler hoodie, and my Avenue vest were all hand spun garments, but they were all worsted spun. So I did not knit a woolen spun garment. I had plans to. I had this woolen prep fiber that I was going to spin for Tour de Fleece last year in July, and I had an issue with the fiber where it was at least partly felted and was impossible for me to spin the way that I wanted to. And so I ended up pivoting and spinning something else during that time, and so I didn't make it. But maybe a goal for this year would be to do that. So anyway, that is how I did on that goal. The next goal I had is, this is the only one I nailed, and I'm very proud of this. I had the goal to buy, and this is an important word, less than half of the yardage that I knit this year. So I kept a spreadsheet and kept track of all the yarn that I purchased and the yardage that I purchased. I subtracted any yarn that I destashed if I sold it, like if I received money for it. And then I did not, an important piece here is I did not include any yarn that I acquired that I didn't pay for, that I didn't purchase. So like, for example, this yarn that I got in my swap did not count. I was not thinking about this that carefully, I don't think, when I set this goal at the beginning of the year. I think I just used buy because that was like what I thought of as the way that I would acquire yarn. If I had thought about it more at the beginning of the year, I maybe would have not used the word buy, and I would have used a different word. So we'll talk about that in a second when I talk about my 2026 goals. But however, I did use the word buy, and if we calculate it that way and we go based on yarn that I purchased this year, I did succeed in this goal, which is a little bit surprising to me because I knit a lot less than I expected. And that would mean that like buying half of what I knit would be even lower because I knit less than I thought I was going to. But I also bought less yarn than I thought I was going to. So like I said, I knit 11,954 yards of yarn this year, and I purchased, I guess I could pull up the exact number, I purchased 5,239 yards of yarn this year. And that is, I did destash one, like 3 skeins of yarn that I received money for. So that is subtracted out. So if you don't subtract that out, that one was what? Let's see here. 1,230 yards. So if I don't subtract that out, then I think I would not quite make it under the half, but I felt like if I was paying for yarn and acquiring it, that if someone was paying me for yarn and I was getting rid of it, that should count as negative. So anyway, I counted it that way and I met my goal the way that it was defined in my mind. I'm very proud of this one. This is one where I felt like over the last few years, my stash was slowly getting bigger and bigger. And while that's not necessarily a bad thing, just for me personally, I was starting to get this uneasy feeling about it. And I think it comes from a place of not being able to knit the things that I have and I love and I'm excited about, because there's always something else, was just kind of stressing me out. And so I've been working slowly toward bringing that down so that I own less yarn and I can knit the yarn that I have closer to when I bought it, so that like that's when you're the most excited about the yarn, right? Is when you buy it. And so I want to get to a place where I'm knitting the yarn that I buy much closer to when I bought it, so that I'm working with it in that peak excitement period. So I had stuff that has just been hanging out for so long, and I remember how excited I was when I first bought it, and then now I'm like not as excited about it as I was before, and I just want to kind of, I don't know, that's my general hope with that. So I'm really proud of what I did this year, and I want to continue it next year. So, or I guess I'm proud of what I did last year, and I want to continue it this year. So I'm going to keep trying to do that, I guess, and like keep that in mind for my purchasing and acquiring yarn for this year. And then my last goal, which I also kind of forgot about, was to get good at and learn to like quilting. I would say that was a no-go. I did not do that. I didn't really do any quilting projects. I did a very small quilted needle book for my husband that honestly did not turn out great. So I'm gonna say this goal was a fail. I do think, however, I did get better at and learn to like sewing generally a lot more this year. I think I had a lot of success with my sewing projects because I slowed down a whole bunch and I was much more patient with myself and I took more time. I had what I think is my biggest sewing success ever this year, which was my Sandra skirt by Sid Graham. And that project took so long and so much time and patience and attention and everything. And it wasn't quilting, of course, but it was seaming a whole bunch of panels together, which is kind of like quilting. And I love how it turned out. I'm really proud of myself for the care and attention that I gave that project. And I know it's something that I'm gonna love to wear forever. So I would say the goal was a fail, but there's some pieces you can take from it that I think I definitely made progress on this year. So, or last year, sorry. It's confusing, the whole last year, this year, next year thing. Anyway, those were my 2025 goals. So on the whole, I did not make it. I didn't quite do it, but that's okay. I'm not unhappy with myself. I understand why I didn't make some of them, and I'm proud of myself for the progress I made, even if I didn't quite make it. And yeah. So let's talk about 2026 goals. I do have some goals for 2026, and they're similar to my ones that I had for 2025 with some modifications. So I do like having a garment goal, and I know that that may not work for everybody or like not make sense for everybody. And I've talked to my husband about this too, because he is like, why are you putting pressure on yourself when this is supposed to be fun? And I get that, I totally get that. But there's something for me that I just really like to have a goal because it feels good to have something to work toward. So I'm gonna do a number of garments goal again this year, but the plan, instead of doing 12, is for my goal to be 10, because I think last year when I was knitting garments, I felt like as soon as I got behind, so if I didn't finish a garment in a month, that felt like a lot of pressure and it felt stressful. And so I think having my goal be 10, which is still like a nice round number, and then if I miss a month or whatever, I won't feel behind. I think that will work out better for me. And I'm already starting 2026 off with like a little bit of a head start because I have a garment that I finished in like January 3rd or something like that. So I get a little bit of a buffer period, and I'm in a better setup, I think, than I was in 2025. So 10 is the goal. I will probably have 12 in the back of my head as a stretch goal. I would still love to knit 12 garments, but if I don't make it, I'm saying for the record, my goal was 10. So the goal is 10. Similarly, instead of doing a year of socks again this year, so my friends and I talked about doing the year of socks last year, and a lot of them did this with me. We have talked about this year doing a year of single skein projects. So doing more like hats or like little scarves, or like I really want to make mittens or things like that would count as well this year. So I am going to shoot for that again. Socks will count too. But instead of doing 12, this one I'm also going to say my goal is 10. So 10 single skein projects. Of course, I'll have in the back of my mind 12, but the stated goal is 10. So I'm also going to count like the little stuffies, like the Moosh and Friends. I'm counting as single skein projects because it's like a single skeins amount of yarn. So things like that'll count. I would love to try to finish them at the pace of about once a month. I think that's the goal that a couple of my other friends have. So I'm gonna try to keep up with that, but I'm stating my goal to be 10, and the hope is that I won't get that kind of uneasy, like I'm behind feeling with that. So 10 single skein projects, 10 garments. I'm not gonna set an accessory goal for myself or like a specific sock goal either. And I'll just say that like those will kind of fit in the single skein projects, and like if I do multi-skein accessories too, that's great. Like that bigger nightlight shawl I was talking about, I'd love to finish stuff like that too, but I just don't have a specific goal around that type of project. Okay, next. Last year I had a goal to knit both a worsted and woolen spun garment, hand spun garment. I didn't make the woolen spun one, so my goal this year is just to do a woolen spun garment. So both spin the yarn and knit it. I'm hoping that I can do the same project that I planned to do this year, which is the Gib sweater by Andrea Mowry. I have part of the fiber for that, but I need to buy some more fiber to go with it. So hopefully I can get that fiber and I can knit the sweater both this year would be great. But even if I don't make that sweater, I am spinning some other fiber woolen spun for a vest. And if I knit that vest, then that would also count. So multiple avenues for getting that one done. Okay, next up I have my acquisition goals. So I am gonna be a little bit different about my language this year because I wanna be careful. Last year, my goal was to buy less than half the yardage that I knit, and I want to do the same goal, but I do want to be more general about it, and I'm going to say acquire less than half of the yardage that I knit. But because I'm thinking about it that way, I will subtract any yarn that I destash, whether I sell it or not. So if I give yarn away for yarn swaps, like to my friends, if I sell yarn that I already have to other people, whatever, I will subtract that out of the yardage that I acquire. And if I acquire yarn either by purchasing or by like getting it gifted from a friend or from whatever, that will also count. So all yarn acquisition, I want to acquire less than half of the yarn, yardage by yardage, that I knit this year. And I think I can do that. So I feel good about that one. I also am adding for this year a fiber acquisition goal because I have felt that my yarn stash was starting to get a little bit more, I don't want to say out of control, but like bigger than I wanted it to be. And I think to compensate for that, in a lot of places, like if I went to an event or something, I would buy fiber instead. And I don't want my fiber stash to get to a point where it also feels unwieldy and like out of control for me. So I'm not gonna say half because I spin a lot less than I knit. But what I do wanna say is I don't want my fiber stash to grow this year. So I'm saying basically I wanna be fiber stash negative, which like a lot of people have a stash negative goal. I'm gonna count this based on ounces of fiber, and spinning it into yarn counts. Like I don't have to knit the yarn for it to count. So I'm gonna say I want to acquire less than the amount of ounces that I spin this year. So if I spin, 40 ounces of fiber, sorry, I want to acquire both via like purchase or like getting from friends or whatever, less than 40 ounces in that case. So hopefully that makes sense. Basically fiber stash negative, yarn stash more than negative, like half of what I knit. So those are my acquisition goals. I do have a sewing goal for this year as well. Not specifically about quilting because I'm just gonna let that one come if it wants to. But I do wanna sew 4 things this year. So like once per quarter, I wanna sew something roughly. And I want it to be something I love. And that's all I'm gonna say. So I want it to be something that I take the time and attention and patience, kind of like I did with a couple projects this year, that I really love it and that I love to wear it. So that's it. I'm gonna keep it pretty general, but just sew 4 things that I love. And then my last one is not really a goal, but just more, I would say like a general intention for the year. I talked about this a little bit in my 2025 Everything I Knit video, but I think that the things that I made in 2025 on the whole, I really liked, but didn't love. There were a couple exceptions to that. Like I said, my traveler hoodie, my Sandra skirt, I love, love, love both of those. And there are other pieces that I really liked or that, you know, I loved, but on the whole, overall, I think I found myself reaching for projects that I made in previous years more than the things that I made this year, which is contrary to the way it normally works, because I often find that I would reach for projects that I most recently finished, because that's when you're most excited about something, I think, is like right after you finish it. And for some reason, I was still reaching for stuff that I made in previous years because I think those things just were a better fit for me. I just like did a better job previously. Like the highlights from those earlier years were things that I really, really, really loved and reach for all the time and want to wear all the time. And my goal for this year is just to be really, really mindful and like purposeful in the things that I make, and only make things that I think are gonna be that for me, like things that I'm gonna reach for all the time, that I'm really, really excited to wear. And I think that that might mean making things that are like maybe a little bit more like boring, I guess. Things that like just fit my wardrobe and my lifestyle better. And I think I'm okay with that. I guess at this point, like I have a shelf full of beautiful sweaters that I've made, and I'm not really looking for, I don't know, like standout pieces that are gonna be like so impressive, and like, I want them to be fun to knit and make. But really what I want is for them to be easy to wear, like easy to love. So I guess my intention, if I had to put it in one sentence, is be mindful and make things that I love to wear. And I'm just gonna try to keep that like at least a little bit in the back of my mind this year, because at the end of this year, you know, when it's December or early January of 2027, oh my gosh, when I'm making my Everything I Knit in 2026 video, I want to be in love with maybe not everything, like not, you know, not everything has to be a hit, but on the whole, I want to feel like I made things that I love and that I wear all the time. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. And I've been thinking a lot about the things that I do really reach for and that I wear all the time, and like what is it about them that I love, and trying to capture that in the things that I'm planning to make this year. So I'm gonna keep thinking about that. I've got some plans, I've got some ideas. I think I'm already off to a good start. And I'm excited about where this intention will take me in 2026. So that is it for my goals. That's what I've got. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling a lot of energy around my making right now. I've been knitting a lot in the first like year and a half, or not year and a half, oh my gosh, week and a half of the year. And I'm hoping that that will continue. I'm sure it'll come and go as it always does, but I'm excited to capture that excitement and energy while I have it and kind of see where it takes me for the rest of the year. So that is my recap of 2025, my intention for 2026, a little update on what I'm currently working on. And I'm excited for the year ahead. Thank you so much for tuning in and for listening. And if you have goals or expectations or intentions for 2026, definitely let me know. I'm curious to see what other people are thinking about and what's important to them. So let me know if you've got any kind of goals or anything like that. If you've got plans, things you're planning to make, I'd love to hear about that too. And I hope to be back here sharing an update with y'all soon on how it's been going. So I hope you do lots of knitting and watch lots of baseball and have a great week or month or however long it is until I talk to you next. Bye.